Welcome back to the Arbitress YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a rose sleeve with tulip effect. Okay, so this is my basic sleeve that I already cut. You can see it's a basic sleeve of about 7 inches. So the length of the sleeve I'm working with is 7 inches, and if I open it up, this is what I have, and this is the center fold of the sleeve. Okay, so to make this curve is very simple. What I'm going to do now is that at the center point here, I've indicated it with a marker so that we can see it well. I'll go up by 2.5 inches, and then I'm going to note it with a marker. Okay, on this point 2.5 inches, the same 2.5 inches from this center point also, I'll go out here by 2.5 inches also, and then I've marked this with a marker also. And then on the upper part here also, I'll go here. I'm trying to create a curve like this, so I'll be going out here by 2.5 inches also, and then I've noted it with my marker. So now I'm going to connect it in such a way that my curve will pass through here, here and here. So using a curved ruler, I'm going to look for a place where I can get a perfect curve that connects the 3 points together. And once I have that, I'm going to connect it like this. Okay, I hope you understand to this point. So once it is connected, I take my scissors. This place is going up completely. So now I'm going to take my scissors, and then I'm going to cut this curve like this. Once I cut this off, remember I said this is going up, I'll cut this away, and then I'm left with this for my sleeve pattern. So now that I have this side, I'm going to set it aside, and this is the side that is going to carry the flounce that we'll use to make my rose. So now I'll move over to create my flounce. So I have my flounce here already created. It's very simple to make, and the only important thing you need to note is that the mouth of the flounce here has to be exactly the same measurement that is on this side also, the 2.5 inches, because that is what you are going to be joining together. Every other thing, I actually did this using my free hand, and it's very simple to make. I think I already have a video on how to make the flounce. Once you make your inner lines like I was doing with your free hand, remember I said the mouth has to be consistent. So the 2.5 inches that you are looking to work with, from that end point you measure the 2.5 inches, as you can see, and then you keep measuring 2.5 inches, and then as you are going, you try to reduce it like that to make a spiral flounce. So now that we've made this spiral flounce, I'm going to put this on it, on the mouth of the flounce like this, and then I'll hold this with the masking tape. But before I do that, I'm going to cut out this front. Remember, it's not going to be like this. I have to cut out this shape first. So I've cut out this flounce now, and this is what I have. Remember, your flounce can be wider than this. It's totally dependent on what you want. So now I'm going to take this, my other half. Remember I said the flounce is going to carry this side is going to carry the flounce, and then I'm going to join them together with a masking tape like this. So like I said, it has to be exactly the same. If it's not the same, one will be longer than the other. So now that I have it joined together with a tape, I'm through with my pattern for my sleeve. I'm just going to go over now and take my fabric and then attach this to my fabric. I want to join it at the back so that it can hold it very well. Okay, so this is what I have, and then bringing in my other part of my sleeve, you can see that this is what it looks like. So it is this flounce part that I'm going to be gathering to form the rose that I want on my sleeve. So I'll have something like this here that will serve as a rose, and this curve here will just give me a tulip sleeve effect. So now I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces of each on my fabric. I'll add half inch allowance to each round and then bring it back to show us. Okay, so now I've cut it on my fabric. I just placed the pattern on it and I used pin to hold it. Then I traced it round. So I just highballed it and added half inch round. So if you are doing your own for the purpose of having something really perfect, you can just take your tape measure round and then measure half inch round it before you start to cut. So this is the part with the flounce and this is the other side. So the next thing now is for me to start to sew them together. I'm going to start my sewing with this. So before I remove my pattern, let me just show us how I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew from the hemline here. Remember, this is going to be the hemline. This is just the flounce part of it. This is the hemline of the sleeve. So I'll sew in such a way that the hemline will be concealed. I'm going to sew like this, and then I'm going to follow it around to the flounce like this, then go back and then stop where I joined the flounce to it. So it's going to come from the hemline round to the flounce, and then it's going to stop here where I attached my flounce. So I'll take it to the machine now and sew. So now I've taken it to the sewing machine now and I've stitched it round. I hope you can see the stitchings, but this is a lot of curve. So now I'm going to notch it so that I can relax it. Then I'll take it to the ironing table and give it a good press. So now I've notched it. I'm just going to flip it and turn it over to the right side. Okay, so I've turned it out now. You can see it's a bit puffy, so I'll take it to the ironing table now and give it a good press. And notching is very important. If you don't notch it, it's not going to lay well because the curve is very curvy, as you can see. So now I've turned it out. I'm just going to take it to the iron now and then give it a good press. But before we go, you can see that this place is a bit because of the stress here. So I'm going to turn it out, and on that point where I stopped my stitches, I'll give it a notch there so that I can relax well, and also so that I can sandwich the other part of the sleeve in between it, because I want it to have a good finishing. So where my stitching stops here, I'm just going to notch. I just want to bring it out so that okay. So our stitches stopped here. I'm going to notch it at that point. Okay, I've notched it now. So I'm going to turn it out, and you can see that it's now relaxing well. This place is out now, and I'll sandwich this. When we get to that point, you will understand it better. So I've taken it to the iron now and I ironed it. You can see that it is looking really flat now, and the hemline is also looking flat and neat. So now the next thing for me is to bring in my other side of the pattern. So before I remove my pattern on it, I want us to see it well. What I'll be sewing is this side from here, from up here, from the one joining the other side here. I'll sew it in such a way that it covers up the hemline of the other side also. I hope you understand that, so that by the time I remove it, so I'm just going to give this side a notch because it's very similar, so that it doesn't confuse us. I'm going to give it a notch so that I'll know the side where I am sewing. And to sew it, I'm going to put it in such a way that this one will be in between. Remember, this is two, it will be in between these two fabrics so that it will be neatly finished. So now I'm going to remove my pattern. So now my pattern is removed, and I want us to watch what I'm doing carefully. Remember, I gave it a notch here because I said I want the seam allowance here to be out so that I'll be able to sew it in a neat form. That's why I have the seam allowance. Remember, the seam allowance for the flounce is already inside. I've sewn it in, and the one for the main sleeve is out here so that I can sandwich it in between the other part of the sleeve. So this is one side. I'm just going to place it like this, and then I'm going to place the other side on top of it, so that by the time I sew it, these rough edges will be inside and not outside. And then I'm going to pin it round and sew. So I'm pinning it now, and then I'm here where my flounce starts. So I'll just tuck my flounce in and then pin it all the way around up to where I want my hemline to be. You can see what I'm doing, so that my flounce will not be, I'm just going the sewing seam allowance part. That is the only place that I'm sewing. I'm not including my flounce with it. So I'll just tuck it in and then continue pinning like this, and then I'll sew. So now I've sewn it round like this. You can also give this a notch, so that we're just trying to make it relax very well. So after giving it a notch, I'm just going to turn it out. Now I'll turn it out to see what we have. And as you can see, that this place is really neat because of the allowance that I pulled out. And then I'm going to bring this out also, and then I'll take it back to the ironing table and give it a good press. So you can see our flounce is not affected because I pulled this out. And now I'm going to take it to the ironing table and iron it so that I can relax like this too. And we can see that we are back to our original pattern. So this is the flounce that is going to form our rose for us. So now I'll take this to the iron now and give it a good press. Okay, so I've ironed the other side also, and you can see that it's looking flat and neat. So this is what we have. This is our main sleeve, and this is our flounce cut together with this sleeve. So now to make my rose, I'm just going to be using my needle and thread to run a loose stitch around the flounce, and then I'm going to drag it to form gathers. Okay, I hope you understand this. I'm going to run a loose stitch round. Now I've run my stitch up to where my flounce stops. You can see this is where the flounce stops. Now I'm going to drag it to form like a gather. So at this point, it depends on the style that you are aiming to form. You can drag it completely, or you just leave some kind of space. So once you drag it, now you can see it's already forming. I'm going to use it to try to form like a rose. Okay, so I'm just going to put this now, tuck in the raw edges here, and then form like a rose for me like this. You can see what I have formed here. If this is not what you want, if you don't like this style, you can just feel free to experiment with whichever style. You may not gather up to what I've gathered, and then try to use your own hand and then your creativity to form whatever that you wish to form. As you can see, this is also another form of rose that I have formed here. You can see that it is quite different from the first one that I did. So feel free to experiment with whatever style that you want, but I'll be going with the first one that I did, and then you can embellish it with whatever you have. If you have beads, if you have pearls, whatever it is that you have. I'm going to be forming this now. I think this looks better for me. Okay, and it's not too much, so I think I like this. So I'll have this now, and then I'm going to tack it down by raising this side because I don't want it to show on the other side. So I just raise up one of the patterns that I have, and then I'm going to tack it underneath so that it will be around somewhere here. And then after tacking it, I'll add my embellishment. I would have loved to add like a pearl to this, but I don't have a color that will go with it. So I have this gold button that I think will just be perfect. So after tacking it, I'm just going to tack or use glue to attach my button to it, and it's just perfect like that. So after doing this now, I'm going to take it to the machine and then join it together on the clip, and then we'll take it to the mannequin to see what we have. Okay, so now I've sewn it together, and you can see what this is looking like. You can see how beautiful it is. And I like the fact that we just cut the rows together with the sleeve, and this is it on the other side. You can see that it is neatly finished both inside and outside. So now I'm going to take this to the machine now and join it together. And you can also join it in a way that it will also be neatly finished by just opening up the seam allowances and then place it against each other and then sew. Then we'll take it to the mannequin and see what we have. So now I've sewn the underarm together using my 1-inch seam allowance that I left, and once I close it up, you see that it is also neatly finished. So you can give this a good press also so that it can lie flat. You can see what we have. This is it on the outside, and it is equally neat on the inside. So now we'll sew this side to our sleeve, and then you can use a serger to finish it off so that it will also be neat. So now I'm taking this to the mannequin and see what I have. Okay, so this is what we have. I can see how beautiful this is looking. To even look really nice on English outfits. So kindly like and comment if you really like this video, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, so that I get notified anytime we upload new videos. See you in the next one. Bye.